In my mind, there's one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit homes and businesses. They serve the region and inside the city of Detroit, too. You can find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. Or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. Hello, friends, and welcome to your daily Detroit, showing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. I am Jer Stays, and today's episode is going to be packed and all over the place as far as topics. Joining me to make this happen, to the left of me, is none other than Mr. Norris Howard, the Prince of Brightmoor. How are you, man?
Back one more time. It's a beautiful day in Detroit. We're going to have more beautiful days coming up, and I'm so excited. It is my favorite month, as I said, Norris History Month.
Well, welcome to Mr. Howard's neighborhood.
That's right. My hood, y'all just live in it.
So, there are three things that we're going to get into. First off, we're going to have a segment talking about the Automate conference that I went ahead and visited with a friend of the show who we're going to introduce in a minute. Really important stuff, I think, for the future of Detroit's industries, Metro Detroit. Then we're going to talk about three buildings in Detroit that you might have to pay us to live in, or at least get some smudge going before they get rehabbed, if they get rehabbed. And then a little bit of a movement preview. It is back. It is one of my favorite things to do on a weekend, and I know, Norris Howard, you're going to be sticking your beak fully into movement this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get into it a little bit later on.
First up, let's talk about the Automate conference. This is a conference that happens every other year in Detroit now. It rotates, I believe, with Chicago. We don't have new numbers, but back in 2023, there were 30,000 registrants filling up 2 floors of Huntington Place. I almost called it TCF Center. There's so many names to that thing.
I still call it Kobo.
I can't bring myself to call it Kobo because Kobo was such a jerk.
Yeah, he does, but it's just, I'm sorry, it still sticks. I'm sorry.
You see the big 4 letters, it sticks in your head. Yeah. 4 letters, 2 syllables.
Yep, there it is.
But joining us to help interpret everything that we saw is longtime listener, friend of the show, Patreon supporter, and expert in robotics and machinery, Adam Cook. How are you? Welcome to Daily Detroit for the first time.
Good. Honored to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you because we were walking around that show floor, and unfortunately, Norris could not make it with us. We were walking around that show floor, and I couldn't help but think of a couple of things. I think, number one, it had all of the vendor energy that I remember that the auto show used to have. And 2, man, was it packed. And there were all of these great like exhibits and different brands from different things. And I just sat there thinking, real major changes have already come to manufacturing and automation. And if you're not somebody, like if you just follow this stuff in the news or in politics or whatever, until you see the level of robotics that are available now, not even stretching, just off the shelf stuff, you realize how much things have truly changed.
Yeah, I agree. And, the show is running tomorrow, too. So if you're at all interested in this kind of robotics, automation, the advancements that are happening quite quickly, I recommend if you can get over to the show, sign up for free online and go check it out for a couple hours. Automation is coming. It's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the job market. A lot of manufacturing is coming back to the United States. A lot of it's going to be automated, and it's really an opportunity in a lot of places in Detroit to get familiar with automation. I think there'd be a lot of job creation around automation. You certainly have a lot of advancements in machine vision and AI that are starting to sort of pop up in the automation space.
So my question is, obviously you're talking about automation and you mentioned manufacturing. I think, first of all, automation can be a bit obtuse for some people. When we're talking about automation, are we talking about like just driving cars? Are we talking about just factories? What kind of automation is on display at the Automate conference?
Well, I think a lot of it is for factories, industrial settings, process settings. It's not a lot of autonomous vehicles or whatever at this show. Some of the underlying technologies that are presented at the show certainly are incorporated into those products, but the show is mainly geared towards factory settings. Now, underneath the show on the lower level, there's some student competitions. They're doing more mobile robotics and stuff and machine vision stuff.
Yeah, we talked to a couple of different people that we are going to have more in-depth conversations with on the show. We talked to people from the University of Michigan and saw how their 3-year-old robotics program is going to be doing some work at the University of Michigan Center for Innovation, which will be a big deal for downtown Detroit, building those ties between Detroit and Ann Arbor. One thing that I really saw was so much stuff around warehousing, sorting, robots that, sure, you see things online, right? You see the humanoid robots from Boston Dynamics, whatever, and it looks cool for a YouTube thing. But when it comes to actually getting it done, I just saw like this variety of robots, whether they were, looked like, there were a few of them that looked like humans, but a lot of them were more, I don't want to say boring looking because they weren't boring, but it's like, oh, you can just weld a whole car now. Or, oh, you want to move pallets and boxes? There doesn't need to be a person doing that. The job is in programming and designing this stuff, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the internet these days, a lot of, I call it hype. The show, I think the show and what's presented at the show keeps things a little more grounded. You can actually see some industrial applications, they're demos, but you can actually see how the robots are being useful today, as opposed to, a lot of the other stuff that may or may not materialize in the future. And, you can talk to people about that. You can see that stuff in action.
You mentioned machine vision and AI. A lot of people listening to this might think of AI in the way that, like, they use it to cheat on a report or something. But how does artificial intelligence play into these very practical applications, and what is machine vision?
Well, machine vision, has been around the manufacturing space for a long time. It generally was first used to do some product quality. If you have a conveyor belt of product going down the line, they would have a machine vision setup where it would look at all the product to see if it sees any defects in it and reject that part or pass that part. Now you're starting, then it became sort of like, if you're welding something, you have a weld process. There would be a machine vision setup that would inspect the weld after the weld process completed, see if all the welds came in good. Now with more advancements in machine vision, a lot of stuff in the industrial space moves kind of glacially because, it's physical product. It costs a lot of money. Mistakes add up very quickly. AI is coming out of the scene. Machine vision advancements are coming out of the scene, but you're going to see the industrial space sort of dip their toes in that bit by bit and just make sure it works, make sure it's reliable. And I think these are what these shows really help you do is get a sense about where the industry's at, what they're looking at the near term. There's all this research about AI and machine vision out there, but what is actually being grabbed down today and deployed into factory floors?
Well, Norris, this weaves into the wider conversation because there was just a report that I read yesterday that although there is this call to bring so much more manufacturing back to the United States, we have 450,000 or so manufacturing jobs open right now that we haven't filled. And so there is a big gap between what the conversation is. And this is something that I really realized on the floor. There is a gigantic, not gap, there is a Grand Canyon-sized gulf between the public discourse, what's actually happening out there, and where the cutting edge is. And when it comes to like making stuff outside of boutique applications, I mean, if you're not on this automation train, you're cooked.
Yeah, it's a wrap for you because the thing is that over the past 30 years, getting jobs in manufacturing has been de-emphasized by a number of administrations. I don't think this is a partisan thing. And so now we do have a labor gap, whether it comes to building automobiles or any sort of factory style job. The automation is going to allow some of those jobs to be filled, but just as it stands, and obviously, Adam, you could talk more to it, but everything I'm reading is that as it stands, automation will be able to sort of stem the bleeding, but at the end of the day, some of these companies it's too late for them.
Well, and you've got pay concerns. And a lot of people just aren't that interested in some of these manufacturing jobs because they maybe don't understand what it's really about. And Adam, we were talking on the show floor about how many of these things have training. If you're willing to do it, and if a company is willing to work with you, there can be training that can get you. I don't mean this as an ad because nobody's sponsoring us for this, but you can get moving in the weeks and being useful to these companies and making paychecks.
Oh, absolutely. I think I would very much like to see an expansion in the U.S. of robotics maintenance training, robotics programming training. These things are coming, and really those kind of jobs are the new manufacturing jobs, higher wages, more stable employment, economic spillovers into other categories. Once you get familiar with maintaining a robot, once you get familiar with programming a robot, maybe you would want to start designing robots.
Well, Adam Cook, thank you so much for spending the morning with me, being a guide for me. And by the way, if you want to connect with Adam, I know that he's got some ideas around training and getting things together. Send us a note, or if you've got feedback about this segment, dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. I appreciate you, Adam.
Yes, thank you.
Let's change gears.
Yes.
There has been a lot of talk. There was an announcement about some progress at the Lee Plaza over on West Grand Boulevard. We're going to dive into more of the details tomorrow with Devin O'Reilly. But it got me thinking, at this event, they were saying about buildings that they really want to get done. One of them that came up was the Herman Kiefer Healthcare Complex. It got me going because I have specific memories of some of these buildings.
Most people in Detroit do.
Yeah, most people who've lived here for a while do, versus coming at these with architecture.
Yeah.
I'm coming at it from a different perspective, okay? And I'm just going to be 100%. And I'm not saying that first off, I would love to see buildings rehabbed.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying this to say don't go, if they do get these buildings rehabbed, to not live there. I'm not saying any of those things. What I am saying is that you might need to get some smudge before you do this thing. Maybe you need to embrace, we're going with the very real with Automate. I'm going to say we embrace a little bit of the woo.
Oh, of course.
With this 3 buildings that if they get rehabbed, somebody's going to need to clean some spirits out.
Well, not just that, you're going to have to pay me to live in them, like 1,000%. Like, I think Herman Kiefer is one of those ones. I mean, just simply based off, first of all, just how much stuff and how many people were in Herman Kiefer all at one time.
Let's set some baselines in case people don't know. Herman Kiefer, old hospital complex, built in 1911. It's been closed since 2013. It's over there by Claremont and the Lodge.
Yep.
You can't miss it.
Yep.
It served an important role as a hospital and things for many years. But for Detroiters of a certain age, you remember Child Protective Services was there. You remember mental health services. You remember a number of things where the memories of Kiefer weren't exactly, okay, I'm not saying it shouldn't get redeveloped. I'm not saying it shouldn't be saved. When it's my personal opinion, I am like, that's the one historic building I'm like, I got
You wouldn't miss it.
No.
You wouldn't miss it. Because listen, chances are if you were just going to Herman Kiefer, you had a bad time. Like something.
If you were our age.
If you were younger, right, you had to go to Herman Kiefer for some reason, it was for either to pick up some kind of documentation or something bad was happening. And that was typically a lot of people's experience with Herman Kiefer, especially in that last sort of 10 to 15 years of his life. Like, obviously it's used as a hospital is fantastic, but you just look at it and it just feels like something out of Silent Hill. Like, it just feels like Resident Evil, and Leon should be running through fighting some zombies.
You know who I feel like we need to call for all 3 of these buildings, and we'll put Herman Kiefer on this list? We need to call Mama Shu from Highland Park.
Absolutely, because we need to cleanse the spirits out of all of it, because there is some juju that is up and through Herman Kiefer that we need to cleanse it out.
May I make a second recommendation for buildings that I feel need a little bit of spiritual smudging?
Yeah.
Old Detroit Police Headquarters. I feel like the spirits.
Man.
I feel like the spirits have been holding back that redevelopment.
Every time I walk, or I drive past it, like there's the electricity is still on. Like Bedrock has kept it in good condition. And so you can see the lights on at night when you drive past it, which makes it look scarier because it makes it look like someone's in there, but there's no one in there. And it's so, it creeps me the heck out.
Built in 1923, it was in a number of movies. I remember going there for various reporting business or whatever, because when I was younger, you'd always have to deal with the police station.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, most of us who have been here for longer than 20 years remember when it was police headquarters. And, you know, I see it and I instantly think of Ike McKin. Like, I think of Ike, you know what I mean? Like, instantly. So, you know.
How is he not aged? I ran into him. He doesn't look like, it feels like the button has been paused on Ike McKinnon.
Yeah, he turned 60 and stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
That was it. Yeah, man. But you know, I think that's one of those buildings specifically because it had the holding cells underneath it as well, and so it's just like it feels like, man, didn't nothing good happen in this building.
There needs to be like, and I'm not even the most woo of people. I'm just not. But these three buildings make me like, we need like the Spirit Squad. We need a Detroit Rehab Spirit Squad. Clean it out and get it ready.
You know what? I feel like this is something that the city will invest in, you know, because I feel like just for the social media buzz alone, where it's just like the city of Detroit Bad Spirit Squad, where they just go in and clear out any abandoned building of bad juju. But I got a suggestion. And this one is not in the city proper, but I got to put this one out here, man. Is the old Eloise Asylum out there in Westland.
Facts.
Right? Like, it's a haunted house now, and for good reason, because it is one of the most terrifying sights on the history of, like, all of Michigan to me. I drive past it, and I get the heebie-jeebies, man. Like, I really want us to clear it out. Here's a tidbit. I didn't know this. Here's a fact. Did you know renowned inventor Elijah McCoy died at Eloise?
Wow.
Yeah. He was in the infirmary unit that they had in there. Apparently, he had some complications from a car accident. But he was in Eloise and he died.
Do we have a new segment?
What?
Black Facts.
Black
that
Facts.
You didn't think to ask.
Black Facts you didn't think to ask. There you go. Elijah McCoy, one of the most important black inventors in all of history. And, yep, died at Eloise.
That's where the real McCoy comes from.
It is indeed. So, but you couldn't pay me money to go in there, even as a haunted house. I think by the way, just putting it out there, hate haunted houses. Think they're stupid.
If you've got takes on that, dailydetroit@gmail.com or give us a call, 313-789-3211. And I think on Instagram, we need to do, and bring it on the show, Black Facts that you didn't ask.
That you didn't ask. And I'm going to just give you one because I got them.
Let's end the show with a little preview. Look, it's a couple of weeks away, but I want to highlight it because you got to get ready for something like this. I went for many years. My professional schedule is not going to line up except for a little bit of a step into it. But man, I have so many good memories, and I think it's so important to the city. Movement is coming up. And listen, I know you're going to talk about all the new stuff, and I think we should talk about it, but there is nothing better than the core memory I have of my apartment covered in international journalists hanging out, just sleeping over as a pile of interesting people during movement.
But movement or Denth back in the day.
Oh, I remember that.
Was that kind of weekend. It was that kind of weekend where you just kind of ended up hanging out with a German guy for a couple days, and then there'll be a girl from France, and then you'd all end up in the Marriott, and then, you know, whatever happens. But the thing
I've been in that Marriott so many times for parties.
But it's that kind of weekend, man. People from all over the world show up. They come out to enjoy electronic music. I am been somebody who's gone to movement almost every year since I've been an adult, whether it be in my capacity as a reporter or I've gotten a hookup from somebody. I've only or paid for it for a couple years. I've been blessed to been able to, be able to go as press a lot of years. And it's a phenomenal event. It is arguably my favorite event in the city, my favorite festival in the city, just because of the types of people and how many different countries are represented during movement. And I'm so excited to be able to go back and bring back some stories from it this year.
It's going to be great because we're going to have a busy few weeks up ahead. We've got movement. We've got the Mackinac Policy Conference.
The Grand Prix.
And the Grand Prix. And we're going to be out at Ferndale Pride. So there's so much happening. With movement, right now, if you're building your itinerary, kind of looking at it early on, because I know there's game time decisions. What are a few of the acts that you want to see? I know that if I can steal away for it, I want to see Stacy Hot Wax Hale on Saturday.
That's a good call out.
But you do the rest.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Me, I'm all for, I like going to see the legends. The new stuff is cool, but, I want to go see the Wizard. I want to go see Kevin Saunderson. I want to go see DJ Godfather, because really DJ Godfather is the soundtrack, the party soundtrack to, like, my teenage years, right? Like, coming from, like, 13 to 19, like DJ Godfather, that whole stretch. Like at a party, you put on some mixes, that's what we talking about. So I definitely got to go see him. There's a few people that I definitely just want to check out that I've never seen in person, like Sama Abdullahi, or I want to pronounce that again. Sama Abdulhadi is a DJ from Palestine, and she about 5 years ago did like a whole Boiler Room DJ set in Palestine. And I just think that is such an interesting context, especially considering everything that's happened. She's going to be closing the show out on Saturday on the Movement stage, which is the main stage down there in the orchestra pit. But to be honest with you, man, I'm going to be in the underground stage most of the time, man. That's where, like, the jungle and the drum and bass is, and that's what I'm there for. I'm there for house. I'm there for jungle. I'm there for drum and bass. I don't want to hear no Avicii. I ain't going up there. All right, I ain't going up there. I'm not wearing no neon. We talking about all black and we dancing.
One of my favorite memories from Movement is the underground stage. And you're going to laugh at me, but it was the first time I ever heard Grizz.
Really?
It was in the underground stage. I think there's even a YouTube video floating around from the publication I used to work for. Oh my gosh. So I was walking and I was, when you're kind of spaced out and trying to vibe where you're going to go.
You got to be a brave soul to go down there too.
And I was like, I heard this riff and with this saxophone, and I was like, this is what's up.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
This is like 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And I just beelined it to it. And I was doing press at the time. I was actually doing video and photo work and got to go up that. I was like, oh, this is what's up. And that guy turned into being a huge, he's still a big deal. He's just, doing a create, how there's creative ebbs and flows.
Absolutely.
He's kind of in a, they're doing different stuff, but he busted out to be a huge, huge deal for a while.
And I feel like, a lot of stars do that at Movement. There's quite a few people who could possibly become stars directly after this, because this is a nexus of electronic music. And you do have to kind of, cut your gums at Movement if you really want to be moving on to the next level. And so I'm really excited for the festival. There's a lot of local acts that I actually am really excited about. A lot of Detroit representation at this festival. So I'm super excited to kind of make my rounds and see what's up.
Next time we talk about it, I think you need to share some after party information.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be privy, but
there's going to be some public stuff.
There's going to be some public stuff, but there's also going to be pop-ups. There's going to be things that are invite only. The best advice I ever give anybody on Movement Weekend is you start at the official sponsored party, and then you find a buddy and go from there, because there's going to be stuff all over downtown, all over Midtown, Corktown, some stretching as far as Russell Industrial. There's always stuff going on in the entire sort of core down here during Movement Weekend. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled. And most of all, stay safe and enjoy your time here in the city.
Well, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit, as well as thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/Daily Detroit. Y'all are awesome in helping us do this stuff. It's so important. We're actually putting together a series of member-only guides about Detroit, whether it's stuff to see off the queue line or great cocktails or just weird dog parks, whatever weird topics that you're only going to be able to get when you're a member of Daily Detroit, because that's the plus one that I think that unofficial, no holds barred, unsponsored, this is the real deal, how to enjoy Metro Detroit. We're going to have that for you, and that's underway right now.
Yeah, so make sure you guys check it out. And also just come in and say hi on the members only Discord. Hang out with us. We're always talking. And that's how we get to know a lot of you guys. And we also disseminate all of our information there first.
If something's breaking, if I know about a new store or something like that, I don't put on the newsletter first. I don't thread about it first. I don't post on Facebook about it first. It goes on our member Discord first.
That's right. So if you want to be first and foremost, join us on Patreon so you can get access to that Discord, and we can bug you with stuff.
Patreon.com/Daily Detroit. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Norris Howard.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.